So, how do you know now that you're in January if your actual plan is working?
Welcome to Inspiration Contagion, the podcast for leaders, founders, and changemakers. Here we explore real stories from transformational business leaders who face fear, uncertainty, and growth head on. Let's lead with inspiration on purpose.
This is why fact checking and using data is essential. When it comes to our sales, our marketing, our strategy, and in particular, execution in business, the only way we know how we're doing is by looking at our metrics. So, for example, if you have ads that you're running and you want to see how they're performing, we want to see what the open rate is, the click rate is, the cost per click. We want to see quantitatively how we are performing on our ad spend and our ad utilization. When it comes to our marketing plan overall, if we have specific engagement metrics, we want to ensure that we're achieving those engagement metrics. When it comes to our sales, we want to make sure we have a healthy, robust pipeline. We want to ensure that all of the follow up steps are being addressed so that our conversion rate is very high, so that our clients are likely to stay. So, in terms of our sales, our marketing, our advertising, our strategy, how do we check that we're on track as we go throughout 2026? Well, the first thing is go back to your goals. Check in to see what the goals are. Check in with the KPIs, your key performance indicators. What are the metrics that ensure that you're successful in regards to those goals? And are you on track in terms of where you started and where you'd like to be and what your end goal is for 2026 when it comes to those metrics? If you're not checking it, there's no way you'll know when you're off track. Let's start with marketing. When it comes to our marketing, we want to ensure that we're tracking engagement with our marketing. This means how many people like things, comment things, reply to our emails, click through rates. All of these things indicate engagement, whether it's social media or email or any of our marketing assets or avenues. Those are some really important KPIs. Is it improving? What types of posts create the best engagement? What types of day and time are most successful for your engagement? Additionally, we want to start growing our audience. How many new followers do we have? How many new subscribers? How many new people following our blog, our newsletter, our podcast? How many new people do we have as followers in our sphere of influence? Because that affects our lead magnets. How do you get more people on those follower lists? You create lead magnets to attract them. These are really important indicators for marketing. Additionally, I like to track how successful our lead magnets or forms are. Which ones have the highest retention? Which ones have the highest open rates and engagement? This helps us see and pivot with where our ideal clients are and our ideal prospects are, so we can even expand our reach further through advertising, for example. You can also test things like organic content. How is your organic content on social media performing? And if it's performing well, that can actually indicate a great strategy for testing with advertising. So these are several indicators and several KPIs that you can track and metrics you can check in on for marketing. And so we look at sales separately. Let's talk about some KPIs and important metrics when it comes to sales. Number one is how healthy and how big is your existing pipeline, meaning how many deals do you have in your current pipeline? I like to make sure that our pipeline has a high enough threshold that based on our closing rate, whatever percentage that may be at that time, that we're likely to conservatively hit the quarter goal that we have financially. So, for example, if we have a 40% closure rate and we have a throughput of 60,000 for that quarter, you want to make sure you do the math to ensure conservatively you're going to hit that number. This is why having these metrics is a North Star and a compass, and it gives you the clarity on exactly what you need so that you can reverse engineer into your plan from marketing to sales to revenue exactly what you need to have a successful year. Also with sales, how do you measure your conversion rate? Well, if you have a CRM, your client relationship management tool, you can have different pipelines for different products and services. And in having that, you create deals and you know how long the deals take. You can see the deal flow. You can see percentages on your closing rate over a year, over a quarter, over time, which helps you tighten your projections financially in the sales vein for your business. So if you're seeing a sales slump, you can start increasing the size of the pipeline to catch up, or you can also pivot and address what could be creating that sales slump to increase a closure rate that's much faster. So these are several indicators, several KPIs you can begin tracking just under marketing and sales alone. You can imagine there's so many things we can track as business owners. You can track lead generation as one component of marketing. You can track speaking engagements, podcast sponsorships, all of these different things. The good news is the more clarity you have around the specific numbers that are most important to you and your business, then you can create a very specific and clear plan that allows you to conservatively project and land the numbers that are most important to you. And the more diversified you have your revenue streams, this gives you even more conservative numbers and more control over the market, which feels sometimes like a roller coaster. But if you have multiple revenue streams and one is not doing well, you have other ones that will help you rise the tides throughout that season that could be challenging. But the most important thing to remember is that metrics help us as guideposts. They help us show us when we're off route. They are indicators of when the market needs a pivot. They're indicators of if there's something economically or politically impacting your buyers. They're also indicators of when you need to make a pivot, when you might have a blind spot, or when the quality of your service is not keeping up with the market pace and the pricing of what consumers are driving and asking for. So the key takeaway here is get obsessed with your numbers, break it down, be very clear, and then reverse engineer from your end goal quarter by quarter what you need, and then month by month what you need. Your team should be hyper aware of what their individual KPIs are as individual contributors, as well as team members, and how this affects the overall mission and vision of the company, how it affects your clients, how it affects your partners, because this will then infuse excitement and inspiration into the business. I hope you found this useful. However, if you are feeling overwhelmed, like you need somebody to break down your KPIs, your metrics, dig in and assess and evaluate your systems, your numbers, help you reverse engineer a clear plan, I hear you. This can be very overwhelming. That's why we hold revenue and performance consulting calls for our listeners and for folks who are change makers in the world and they just need a little extra support in creating that plan, that flight plan. We're here for you. So if you're interested in that, just send us a note, say flight plan in the comments, or send us an email and we'll get you scheduled right away. You've got this. Remember, your metrics, your numbers create that momentum, they create that magic. So start obsessing about them and create a plan and start taking action today. You've got this.
Thanks for spending your time with me today. If this episode supported you, I'd love for you to subscribe, leave a review, or share it with someone who needs it. When inspiration spreads, real impact follows. I'll see you next time.